Hi, Dave. David, come on in. Well, anyway, we can change that already. We're up to 7 in the room here of our Global Grants Committee for our Rotary Club. Welcome to everybody. And as you heard, we're recording this. So at the end, people that want to have a copy of the recording can request it. I think that's how we're going to do that this time, is just send them out to those who request them, because I'm sure we'll get requests from people that couldn't make it for whatever reason. I'm Glenn Ripke, the chairman of the Global Grants Committee, for those of you that haven't met me. We're going to do this. We made one small adjustment to the agenda. We moved Zawadi from up above. Well, we put him at number 4 on the agenda so he can get in and say what he needs to or has to present to us, or we can do it from this end. We were unable to get it recorded in advance, so we're going to have to do that one live. That way he can say what he needs to say, and then Steve Jones following him can fill in the blanks from this end. With that, I was going to just run down who's here. We have the Beckers, Dan and Joanne from Grinnell, Jim Black, Chad Copley from Ames, Mark Kramer also from Ames, Dave Fox is in the room, Erica Gwynn is in Evanston, David Hansen is here in the room, Al Hermanson is from Ames, Doug Jones from Nevada, Kajiro, he's in Same, we saw him come on. Gerald Conlon is here in the room. We haven't seen Chuck Ladd yet. Stu Martin is sitting at home in Oregon. Dave Millard is also from Ames on our Global Grants team. Gilliard is also in Same. Where am I? Tom Mott is on from Nevada. Newton. Randy Peters is at home, I believe. Yep. From Ames, she's on our committee. I'm here, I'm in the room. Matt Romkey from Des Moines Rotary, Karen Sevedy from Ames, she's sitting at home, it looks like. We haven't seen a couple of these yet. Mary Wells is in the room. Park Whittle is at home, he's also from Ames. Roberta and Reg Yoder in Des Moines, and Andrew Zawadi in Same. So that's who we have recorded as of now. It looks like Dennis Skinner wants in, so we'll do that. Dennis Drager? Oh, that's a different name. And Chuck Ladd's coming on. Okay. Okay, where's my share screen at? Anyway, welcome to the seventh annual partners meeting. We're here in Ames starting this. I've already introduced the partners that are attending today. We had to revise, like I said, the agenda just a little bit, and we'll try to stick close to this as we can. And if anybody has questions, use the text thing and text us and let us know what's on your mind. Put it in the chat. Yeah, put it in the chat, not the text. Thanks. That's okay. We have the special guest. Jessica wasn't able to make it, but Erica did. And we did introduce the partners. 25 Rotarians were signed up yesterday for our District 6000, which represented about 8 clubs. 3 Rotarians from the 9214, but if you look, you'll see quite a few more have joined us from 9214, which is Same, Tanzania. And for those that you think that's the wrong number, well, the last time it was 2211 or 9211, and it's changed to 9214 now. We have 1 Rotarian signed up from 2060, 1 from 5960, and 1 from 5100. So we have quite a variety of Rotarians involved today and guests. And this is something I put up mostly because Mary, when she's putting that out, used the phrase, "My, how have we have grown." Well, this is the actual numbers of how we have grown over the last few years. In the first grant in 2014, which involved 12 Rotary clubs in 4 districts, and only one of them provided district designated funds. And then the last one, we had 16 Rotary clubs involved from 8 districts, and 6 of those districts provided designated funds from 4 states and 4 countries. So we're getting known a little bit around what we're doing in the world. And one of the things was this that Gilliard shared with us. It's kind of hard to see, but I put it up on the screen so you can see. This is the 3 villages that have completed the water system so far. And you can see how the instances of waterborne diseases are going down. We're not sure quite exactly how to interpret all the units of measure here, but the trend is pretty obvious. And Gilliard might talk about this when he comes on in a minute. So get that off of there. What'd you say? Where's the screen at for this? This one? Stop here. Not yet. I'm looking for it. Right up there. Oh. There we go. Gilda Mafinga is now admitted. And from there, I'd like to introduce Erica Gwynn and see if she has anything she'd like to talk to us about. Are you on there, Erica?
She said she was having internet problems and was going to come back in.
Okay. That's a bummer. We'll go ahead with Zawadi if you would like to unmute and say a few words.
Needs to unmute.
Yeah, unmute. I don't even see you. Can you unmute Zawadi? Can somebody help him with it? See a lot of movement. Connecting. Can you, there, now you're unmuted. Can you come on and talk?
Hello to everyone.
There you're, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm Zadi Andrew IPP from Same Rotary Club. Yeah, it is unfortunately that my report is not presented. Hello.
Would you like us to read what you sent us the email this morning?
Yes, I can allow you to read it on behalf of me.
Now I can find it again. Okay. Let's see, to the team, the above mentioned project, which was funded through Global Grant 1981-316, was planned to be implemented for the period of 18 months. That was from June 2020 to December 2021. However, during construction, the contractor experienced a couple of unpredictable challenges relating to the weather and geographical layout of the system. Besides the harsh weather and thick forests, which restricted transportation of building materials across the mountainous area with people's farming land and contractor identifying heavy underground rocks, which impeded the speed of trenching, excavation, piping, and distribution systems downstream to the villages. The mentioned challenges resulted in unexpected delays to completion of various major parts of the system, such as water sources, storage tank, piping, and distribution systems. Much resources and time used to lift the materials by head from the roadside to the construction sites. Similarly, additional resources and time were used to break the underground rocks and allow access of digging trenches and piping for the distribution systems. Although up to the moment, the major parts of the system are completed and some of the progress and few are yet started. Some are in progress and a few are yet to start. Based on the above facts, I would suggest an additional 3 to 5 months to get the whole system effectively completed without a rush and be functional by May 2021. The current project report of August 2021 provided by Gilliard during the last online meeting shows the completed and non-completed parts. Looking forward to your response, Zawadi. That was an excellent report. It covered a lot of ground. If anybody wants to comment on that, I see a whole bunch of chats going here. Okay, Wilfred Mafenga was invited by Kajaru. Hi everyone, Ahmad Zawadi from Sonome. Pleasure. I'm getting at the wrong end here. I gotta go to the top. Good morning all from Matt Romke. Dave Fox. Thanks for the invitation from Ahmad. Erica, I'm having some computer issues. I haven't found her logging in yet. No, she hasn't tried to get in again. So I think we're up to date on the hi for everybody. So with that, the next item on the agenda was to, if you have any chats or any comments for Zawadi, please put them in the chats. We'll go ahead and get started with Steve Jones, the water engineer, and the progress report for the latest water projects. Okay.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me all right.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm going to give a quick review. Some of the stuff I'm going to go back and pick up some stuff from the Mehezi Phase 1. So I'm going to kind of give you an overall view here of all the work that's been done in Mehezi. Some of the folks on the program this morning have not seen this. I guess that's not going to work. There it goes. Okay, so as many of you know, because of the size and the geographical area covered by the Mehezi system, this was split up into 2 parts. And so overall, we're going to be serving about just under 4,000 people, 7 sub-villages. We're on mountainous terrain. As many of you know, this is a surface water source, not a borehole. So we now have, in addition to the original source that was developed, we now have a second water source that has been developed, and I'll show you a picture of that here briefly in a minute. System basically consists of main storage tanks just down below the water sources, chlorination and filtration at the storage site, and then gravity distribution downhill. We're now at 35 distribution points for the Mahezi system. 10 of those, I believe, were for Mahezi 1. And with the current project at Mahezi 2, we've added another 25 to 26 distribution points. All in all, the total investment in US dollars for phase 1 and phase 2 is $541,000. And this was split up, as I mentioned, into 2 separate Rotary grants. I don't know why that's not. Okay, just a real quick system map here. Up the top here with the blue squiggly circle around it, that was the portion of the system served by the initial grant in phase 1. And phase 2 now has included, in addition to the new source up here and the new tank and treatment site, all of this area down here encircled in the green circle, plus a number of this over here in the connected village. The 2 water sources are connected. So the 2 sources are providing water to the entire distribution network. So for those of you that have not been to Tanzania and Mahezi specifically, I like to use this slide because it shows the road to get up to Mahezi. We're on mountainous terrain here, not down in the valley in the plains. So these are just some shots of what it's like as you travel up the side of the mountain, switching back and forth to get to the top. This is a view from near what I call the village center in Mahezi. Very beautiful view. As you leave the village center to get up to the water sources, the road becomes a little more narrow. Not for the faint of heart as you're going up the road. So just a reminder to everyone, this is a surface water source. This is what's called the Ronzi Catchment. This is the catchment that sits up about 1,000 feet above the 2 water sources. The hills that you see in the background there form kind of a circular catchment area, and all the moisture and rain that falls up there is collected here. This is the source of the water for the 2 springs that provide the water source for the Mahezi system. I show this slide because this was the initial catchment for the spring when we first started on this project. This is back in January of 2018, before we started the Mahezi project. I've noted on here the measured flow rate there, 80 to 120 liters per minute, and that's still pretty accurate. for Mahezi 1, there was a vast improvement done on that. So this is the structure that was built to collect the spring water. This is upstream of that picture I just showed you. It's upslope, a couple hundred feet, but it's still on the same spring. And I show this to you to, of course, the folks in Same have been here. Some of you have been there, but quite a feat of construction. All of this was done with manual labor. So all the materials had to be hauled down that hillside to form the concrete pool and the head box to collect the water. So this structure here collects the spring water, goes into this structure right here. We call that a head box. And so the water comes in the head box and then flows through a pipeline down to the filtration building. There's a little closer picture. And to my friends in Tanzania, any contractors here in the United States would be pretty proud of the quality of that construction. Oh, somebody wants it. Another picture, again, this is the structure at the first water source. This is the construction at the second water source. This one was constructed, I guess, last fall. So this has been completed for a while. But as you can see, pretty similar to the other one. The quality of construction, as usual, is very, very high. As Wadi mentioned, all of the pipelaying is done by hand. And as he mentioned, on this particular project, they had a lot of problems with encountering buried stones and rock. So a lot of manual labor, hard labor to get this piping put in. And then there's the construction at the treatment building site. All of the foundations had to be dug for the buildings. All of those materials you see in the background, the aggregate, the coarse aggregate, and the bags of cement all had to be taken up the mountainside. And in some cases, as Wadi mentioned, had to be carried in manually to the site. Construction of the foundation for the tank. This is the treatment building at the Mahezi 1 source site. And you can see the solar panel up on top of the roof there. That provides the electrical power for the controls, the chlorinator, and the lighting inside the building. Very nice looking storage tank. This is the treatment building and storage tank at the new source. Looks very similar to the one at Mahezi 1. Very nicely painted. The treatment inside the building for the second source will mirror or be exactly the same. So we'll have 3-phase filtration to take particulate matter out of the spring water. There's a better picture of the 3 filters. Followed by a master meter to record total volume and flow rate. And just a few more of the controls. We have a water level sensor to sense the water level in the tank. Over in the upper right of the photo there, you can see the voltage regulator and battery for the solar collectors. And on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see the chlorinator and the chlorine solution. And the blue arrow that you see going down shows the direction of flow of the water. There's the chlorine pump and the direct current, 12-volt current from the solar collector. So downhill from the storage tank are the distribution points. This is one of the original distribution points in Mahezi 1. This is about a third of the way downhill from the storage tank. This DP sits just below. It's the first DP downhill from the Mahezi 1 storage tank. Very nicely painted. These are new distribution points that have been constructed as part of the Mahezi 2. The one in the lower right is at one of the schools. You can see the school kids in the background. And I'm not quite sure which part of the village, but all of these allow people to walk a very short distance to collect the water. In addition to the distribution points, a number of hand washing structures have been built at the schools. So this has been very popular with the children. In a little bit, you're going to hear from Gilliard, and he's going to talk more about the impacts that this has had, particularly at the schools. More of the distribution piping construction here, crossing the main road, going up the side of the mountain. And I'd be open to any questions. As I mentioned, we're going to hear a presentation by Gilliard here that delves more into the impacts of all the work going on in the Mahezi system.
Maybe before Gilliard, we'll catch up with Erica.
Yeah. Stop share.
See if there's anything new in the chat here. Well, before we move on down the agenda to Gilliard, is Erica there? Would she like to say a few words to the group while we have you?
I am here. Apologies, everyone. My computer is dying as we speak. I just wanted to say it's really amazing. I think it was 8 years ago that I had visited Same, and it was a long time ago, at the very beginning conception of this, and to be able to see how how it has grown from what was a small project into an expanded program into multiple communities. This is really amazing. I've been following your reports, which I very much appreciate. The data that you've supplied to show the impact and change that has happened over the last 8 years. And then always inviting us to these updates and seminars and meetings, myself as well as the RGO. That's been really critical for us. And it's kept us on our radar to be able to always be tracking this program, to put out the next challenge for you guys, thinking about perhaps a program of scale in the near future, of taking this to that next level. You guys have a proof of concept here that you've been developing and gathering evidence for, that I think would put you in a nice spot within the next year or two for that next larger vision if that would be something that you would determine you have the stamina for. But until this point, I just have to say this is really one of the outstanding projects that Rotary has seen with globally. And I really have to give hats off to not only the Rotarians in Iowa for being huge leads on this, but there's definitely leadership, engagement, and ownership that I've seen out of SAME. And it could not happen without that. So congratulations, everybody. This is really, it's really awesome to see the progress you all have done. As of now, I don't have any specific questions.
Well, thank you, Erica. Make sure you can be around to listen to Dave Fox and Stu Martin when they come on in a couple of minutes. They're going to talk more about the next project.
You bet.
Gilliard, is there anything you'd like to say before we run your video?
Hello, guys. How are you?
We're fine. How are you today?
I'm good. First of all, I would like to thank all of you to participate in this very valuable and worth meeting to present about what we are doing in Tanzania as the Rotary Club of SAME in partnership with our international partners, Rotary Club of Ames and their friends. I am going to just to talk a little bit about impacts from the completed water systems in Summit District, because I have already presented and my report is already recorded in your YouTube channel. So anyone from your side may follow up and see and learn what we are doing. But shortly, the impact of these projects are in different categories. We have women empowerment. Women now have more family time, and also they engage more in their productive activities, and they realize new economic opportunities. But also these completed water systems has enhanced the engagement and participation of women in productive activities such as garden farming, livestock and businesses. But also in these villages have led to improve the hygiene and sanitation practices like wash, toilets, grown trees and flowers around their families. Another category is education started in schools. We experience schools with a favorable learning environment to children in communities, but also school attendance for girls is up as there is conducive environment at the school, especially during the menstrual dates. School attendance for girls is up, more boys in school. They are not going to head their kettle or looking for water for their kettle, but also we experience more boys with the high academic progress in school, improved grades and economic and the high performance in their education in different levels. So we experience the optimum level of education. Another category is on peace and harmony in families. Before completed the projects, villages experience delayed meals, but also social conflicts because women were working very far to look for water. So sometimes they got into quarrels with their couples, but so we experience less conflict within their families. Another thing is community health. As will be presented later, we experience less waterborne diseases in villages, but also we experience food security such as gardens, fruits, and farming. Personal hygiene, we find high level in the villages, construction of better toilets and houses, wash behavior at the schools and household levels have has increased. Another category is development category. We experience economic and community development, new construction of houses, but also not only new, but they are modern. Job creation due to sustainable water supply. We find people are making bricks and they are engaging, especially youth, in vocational skills to build houses. But also we experience young men and women nurture entrepreneurial spirits in these villages. We find food vendors and others have started new business. Environmental impacts. In this sector, we find a number of trees planted, shade and fruits and ornaments, but also we find control erosion mechanisms in the villages, water management. Villagers never throw away used water, but it's like they reuse water which has been cleaned, has been used in cleaning and washing their houses or clothes. So wastewater management is high. Flower garden and fruits, improved hygiene and sanitation. And in that, from that report, all of you will see by the eyes, because Rotary Club of Ames, we are evidence-based during practice. So I have put down on the dashboard major system infrastructures such as modern water sources, but also water distribution points, storage tanks, kettle troughs, filtration houses, and other infrastructure, waste stations at the schools. So you will find how these infrastructures are well developed, and this is because of high management level by Rotary Club of Ames, but also excellence bidding by the contractor. So their capacity in management is very high. So that's why we are realizing all these outputs. Thank you very much, and I welcome you in to see by your eyes when the report is going to be displayed.
Well, thank you, Aman. Gilliard. Thank you, Gilliard. That was excellent. We don't need to show your video now that you just pretty much did it live. So anybody that would like to have a copy of it, that Gilliard's pre-recorded message to share with your club, it's available. Of course, you may get asked to participate in our next project too, but we're going to ask you anyway. So that's the way that works. The next up on the agenda is Dave Fox and Stu Martin talking about our next project. So Dave is here in the room saying, have Stu start. So Stu, could you go ahead?
I would be honored to. And let me just say, some of you know this, but some newcomers may not. This started because WASH Reg, the Rotary Action Group, focused on WASH, and Secretary General John Huco thought that we could do larger work, better planning. And there was developed a joint effort called the PEP pilot, Project Enhancement Process Pilot. And Dave, who was the person in charge of allocating those teams to go out and do studies, said, hey, Stu, you know about this stuff. Why don't you go to Tanzania? I had never been to East Africa, but I did lead a group there, and we analyzed 7 villages in Same, the 7 most needy villages, and the 7 villages in Mwanga next door. And this club, the Rotary Club of Ames and the Rotary Club of Same, have had this partnership now for 8 years, doing global grant after global grant, project after project, always improving, growing, and I'm just pleased to be here as part of that growth and development in Rotary WASH. So what's next? The communities that have been served already said, well, what about toilets? What about hand washing? What about schools and our healthcare facilities? Okay, So I did some training on those topics when I was in Same a couple of years ago, because the club said we want to know how we can grow and do better and help these communities. Also, Empower Tanzania, which is a nonprofit group that has partnered with Rotary in the past and with other organizations, stepped forward and said, we'd like to help. So this project was created out of the existing work by Rotary, Empower Tanzania, and the district, which then spun off a new organization called RUWASA, the Rural Water Sanitation Agency, which reports directly to the ministry now. And so we talked about this and went to RUWASA and went to the district executive director and said, which villages need the most? And they gave us a list. Actually, they gave the Rotary Club of Same a list, and they said, well, we can analyze them, but it's going to take many hours. There's lots of long walks, difficult terrain. We need some money to help facilitate that. So my district, District 5100, found some funds and did a special district grant to support the community assessment. And I've been around global grants since they were new, and I have to tell you, this is by far the best community assessment I've ever read. Over 100 pages of text, many pictures. They analyzed 8 villages and came down to the 3 that were nearby that could take advantage of a new water source, a new spring, undeveloped, that could serve all 3 villages. So we had meetings with those folks, and they agreed that they really wanted it. They keep focusing on water, but we know that they also need sanitation, hygiene, help in the schools and the healthcare facilities. So that's how this was started, was from that request by the communities, a comprehensive WASH program that covers everything in these 3 villages. And they are very needy. I know Gilead can explain how needy and what the status is, but there's some open defecation. There's people without water at all. Their family gardens are not growing. I mean, it's a sad situation. So it's a great opportunity for us in Rotary to work together. With that introduction, I'd like to show you, and Erica is going to cringe a little, but I'd like to show you the new guidelines that were drafted back in March. You guys are seeing all my stuff. Okay. Nope, that's the MOU. Okay. So, a group of Rotarians was selected by Erica, by the cadre of technical advisors, and by WashReg to participate in this process. And with Erica and I leading the group, the question was what topics need to be improved in the guidelines, either made more specific or added to the guidelines. And this was the table of contents that came out of this group after 6 or 7 months of work. And there was a separate group giving advice. You can see that this section D, these are core components that the guidelines believe, at least this group believes, the guidelines should have in almost every WASH project, from community assessment all the way down to planning for scale and advocacy. And also, these topics, what I think of as WASH topics, but here in the guidelines are called quality standards. What are the standards that are associated with each of these topics? And many of them you know from the past: water supply, rainwater harvesting, household toilets. But there's some new ones, or stronger ones. Menstrual hygiene management is definitely strengthened. Market-based sanitation, not delivering free toilets, but helping people purchase toilets with their own money from market supplies and building the supply chain. Solid waste management, better management of waste, not only human waste, but also other kinds of waste, and then healthcare facilities. So these guidelines are coming, maybe January, maybe February, we'll see, but they are already being thought of in this project work that we're doing. And I want to take you to the Memorandum of Understanding. Again, all these groups talking with each other. The question was, how can they work together? So you'll see in the MOU the Rotary Clubs, Empower Tanzania, Transform International, RUWASA, the Rural Agency, the district, and all of them together are called cooperating organizations other than the Rotary Clubs. This document took quite a while to put together. It has representatives from each of these groups. It has a description of the needs and the interventions that will occur, including involving the regional office, the Pangani Water Basin. It has a long list of host Rotary Club responsibilities. And I checked with Zawadi and Kajiru and Gilliard. I said, can you guys do all this stuff? And they said, yes, we can. They may need to hire some people to assist, but a 14-member Rotary Club that can accomplish that is quite amazing. Then the International Club also has a long list of responsibilities. Empower Tanzania has a great set of responsibilities because they're going to do most of the training and the gathering of data and the monitoring program, both in households, in the schools, and in the healthcare facilities. And then RUWASA is going to be involved in collecting data, developing the construction plans, doing long-term support and long-term sustainability, because we know in Rotary that the local government has to be involved in order to continue the project after we are done. And the district executive director, Anastasia Tutuba, said, yes, we will provide our department heads and we will work with you on this project. Now, I want to tell you a little story that because we had this brewing, RUWASA didn't include these villages in its budget. They said, oh, Rotary's going to handle this, which was a surprise to us because we needed them to do the design work and some of the data gathering and then the BOQ, the bill of quantities, so that we could then send it out for bids. But we've talked about it, and they've come to an understanding that they will revise their budget mid-year and include that work in December and January. These are some of the outcomes that we hope to achieve, meeting the WASH standards nationally, internationally, making sure they're sustainable, that they deal with not only the life cycle costs, but the future needs for the community, setting up a good M&E system. For the first time, I think, in this region, M-Water was introduced when they did the community assessments. It worked quite well. It's a nice tool to be able to take around on your smartphone and take pictures and get geographic information and check off boxes or gather data. This project timetable has changed, and I'll show you a new one in a minute, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how comprehensive the program is. And in the new guidelines, there'll be some things that are required, like here's a list of menstrual hygiene management stuff. As those requirements are developed, I can assure you that this Rotary Club in Same, together with its supporting clubs in the U.S., are going to make sure that those are met. So I thought that was pretty cool. From WashReg, we have this new F diagram. It's called that because feces, human waste, gets into food and fluids and fingers and gets transmitted and causes disease. So this is a handy way to look at how we will be able to use these interventions, the water, sanitation, and hygiene interventions, to prevent that from happening. Let me go back to my list here. What was I going to say next? Yes, scaling. Erica mentioned the programs of scale. And I wanted to show you a PowerPoint that Erica and Neil Van Dyne did recently, because scaling is not what I used to think of it a few years ago. You just do more, right? You do more of the same stuff. Scaling means thinking about how you can actually do it strategically, how you can grow things in a way that's organic and strategic, and not just throw money at it and not just do more of the same. So that means integrating into the systems that are local. We're already doing that here in the district of Same and in RUWASA. We're involving them in this process, gathering the evidence, gathering the data to make sure that it's a project that produces actual outcomes, not just hope. And then, of course, the Rotarians being actively involved. This is a fairly involved table, but I'm going to gradually introduce this to the Rotarians without scaring them away. It was a great seminar. I encourage you to watch it if you can. Now, I want to show you this. There's lots of ways of showing how you get to the results, but I like this one because it shows the kinds of things that we put in the inputs and the activities we accomplish, and then some of the things that come in the outputs, some of the results of that work. There can be immediate and intermediate outcomes, but the ultimate outcome is what we have to keep our eye on. And so I think we will probably create our own custom results chain like this for this project. It'll be very interesting to see how it all comes together. We're in the planning stages now. So when is this going to happen? That's a great question. The size of this project is probably on the order of, I would say, $600,000 US to $1 million. It's going to take a while to raise that money, and first we need to have the work done by the RUWASA agency, so we have a budget for the water side. We've already got a proposal from ETI that's being drafted. So I'm thinking that in December we'll have ETI's proposals finished. We'll have those aspects covered. By the end of January, we'll have the design and the BOQ done, and a project budget will be prepared. We can do some earlier fundraising because we'll have a rough idea, but we'll hit it hard in February through April. So by the time May rolls around, we'll be ready to submit the global grant with all of its attachments. And that's really good timing because if we get it in by June 1 and get the responses back from the grant officer and the cadre reviewer, then it can be heard in the September-October trustees meeting. It's large enough, a level 3 grant will require the trustees' approval at one of their meetings, and their meeting following that June date is September-October. So if all goes well, in the fall of 2022, we'll have approval. Those are the previous board meeting dates, just so you know, but this is what the terms and conditions provides, that if we could get it finished by 1st of March, they could hear it in June. Otherwise, 1st of June, they hear it in September and October. So that's the timing. Next, I want to give you an idea of budget. This is a grant calculator that the Rotary Foundation uses, and I've modified it to make it a little more suitable to this project. This is not just a USA-funded project. It's not even just a North America-funded project. I believe with our connections in Europe and other places that we will be able to put together a budget that can, in this example, this is just rough numbers, get on the order of $900,000. There's Rotary Clubs that Ames has gathered in the Midwest. There's Rotary Clubs we have gathered in the Northwest. We have some friends in Canada, good friends in Austria, friends I think we can develop stronger relationship with in France and Germany. So this is the kind of example, and over here we'll keep track of which country is doing the best and maybe have a little competitive spirit going on. Okay, so that's a rough idea of how the fundraising will go. Some folks will want to get their TRF points and some won't, and so that'll be that extra 5% we have to think about. What else did I want to talk about? Transform International and ETI. Some of you may not know about Transform International, so let me give you a brief explanation. Rotarians in WashRag, including Bob Wabana, who is the chair of the operations team, Nancy Gilbert, who has a PhD in this stuff and is a retired lawyer and an active Wash Rotarian, knows many people around the world. Folks like Steve Werner from the Peace Corps and Water for People, they realize that the funding model that governments use of doing large projects where things are delivered and then the people just use them doesn't work very well. And also doing a single project at a time doesn't work very well because it's so much work to do a project and then it's not long-term sustainable and it doesn't grow and develop. So Transform International was formed by Rotarians for the purpose of having a stronger, better system that works with Rotary. Empower Tanzania is a great example. They do health projects, agriculture. They help really very poor families, women who have been abused, children that are orphans. So we're working with them to help them really understand the Rotary system and be able to do the kind of training that not only helps the schools and the healthcare facilities, but it builds the capacity of the district, the Same district health officer, education officer, planning officer. If we can help build their capacity, then they can do more as a local government and, of course, sustain our project work. So Empower Tanzania and Transform International are a key part of this. They're helping to up the game, if you will, or to make it stronger and longer lasting. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. So let me take questions. And Dave, feel free to jump in. And of course, Zawadi and Kajiro, you're welcome.
Hey, Stu, this is Glenn. Check this chats too. There's a message there from Erica that she would like you to send her an updated copy of the MOU. So
okay,
you might want to read that. It's a real nice request.
It's very nice. And Erica does watch this one, which is great. It's wonderful to have the manager of water, sanitation, and hygiene for all of Rotary worldwide with her eyes on this project. I will do that.
Yes, Stu, this is Dave. I wanted to mention, Stuart gave a nice summary of what Transform International does. He did not mention that he and I both serve on their board, so that doesn't hurt our communication with them either. I wanted to follow up. Stuart mentioned that the cost estimate, just guessing at it based on our past projects, is perhaps close to $1 million, and it's going to be a big job to raise that. We're going to need all of your help. You've been very generous in the past to donate to our previous projects, and we certainly hope you will continue to do that. But beyond that, we need your help in identifying additional partners, people clubs that that would be interested in participating in an international project that has been successful and sustainable. Any individuals any foundations you're familiar with that are active in supporting environmental projects like ours. We just need the information so we can follow up with them and try to get their support, because that's how we're going to end up raising close to $1 million in 6 months. So that's our goal, and your help will be greatly appreciated. So yeah, if there's anything in the chat, you can follow up.
This is a network project. This isn't one club or two clubs. This is all of our friends and all of their friends joining together to do that, that's the only way we can do it. We can't do it just small.
I have my hand up, so I'm gonna.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Erica.
Just jump in with a question. I think this is fabulous and ambitious, and I think that's good. That's what we need. That ambitious vision is where we need to start for when we're thinking about scaling. I just wanted to hear a little bit more, and I think the rest of the Rotary world very much benefit. If you've thought a little bit about, I'm sure there's a lot of learnings that you've captured throughout this. I've heard some of them just because I've been connected with you guys and reading your reports, and I know Dave and Stu very well. So, but I'm thinking about the larger Rotary world and how they could benefit from something like this, especially since you're at that point in your journey where you're very seasoned Rotarians with the global grant process, but now you're thinking even bigger. You're essentially outgrowing the global grant structure. So this is a really opportune time to have others that are also in similar places, or maybe a couple steps behind you, to really hear about what your experiences have been, what are your challenges, what have you been able to overcome, how have you been able to get such levels of engagement in SAME with all these different partners. Have you thought about doing a more public learning event that RI could assist with the promotion that you think would benefit?
That's a very interesting idea. It would take time from the preparation to put together the learning pieces of that, but I imagine the team would be willing. How would it come together, and how would the audience be gathered?
Well, we can help you do that. I'm helping right now a team pull together a learning event for the second week of December. So this is one of those areas that you have a very targeted audience. You have a twofold goal here. One, to share your knowledge with others. And then two, like the second big one here that I'm hearing, is get exposure for the project, because as much as I know this project, I would say it's fairly quiet still. Yeah. And it deserves the same type of exposure that I see like hand wash or the RIUSAB partnership getting. Wow. So how can we work with you and help you to get more exposure, especially to those audiences that you're less familiar with? Perhaps like the Korean audiences or more European audiences that would very much benefit from this type of work.
That's a great idea, Erica. Fabulous idea. And I will jump in and say, yes, I'm happy to help with that. I imagine.
We'd be very happy to help with that. In fact, we know right now there's some European clubs already operating in SAME and other East African countries that they know about us, but they haven't quite made the jump.
We run into them on the road.
Yeah, we run into them literally. But there's that. And you mentioned how the partnership works just between Ames and SAME. Mm-hmm. Well,
very unique.
It goes back a long ways, but there was a level of trust that was built up ever before Rotary started here. Mm-hmm. And that level of trust goes very deep, as far as they know us, we know them, and we trust them to get this, to do what they need to do. Mm-hmm. And they'd get it done. It's a wonderful thing when you go and visit with them and just sit down and talk. You'll find out that there really is a level of trust there. Yeah. And as far as exposure, well, one of our good friends from SAME, Mr. Kajiro, will be in Houston next summer. So there's a place right there where maybe we can spread some word somehow or another. Mm-hmm. And if we know that you want us there for that purpose, I'm sure we could find somebody that aims to get down there and make a joint presentation.
Mm-hmm. Remember, that's when we want to have it all done.
It'll be done by then.
We can do both, too.
I mean, you can still do it in phases. I encourage that one-time event, but I guess what I just want you to think about is, what is the unique contribution that you believe you are making to WASH under this model, right? And what is how can you tell that story that would be interesting for a bigger, wider Rotary audience? And I would even challenge you, the next challenge would be not only in WASH. I think that there's a lot of themes that I've been able to pull out of this program that are not just applicable to WASH. I mean, community development is the big one. That is the underlying thing here. And there's so many aspects, actually. So I want you to really think about that, and how could you package that Like what is that one message, at least that primary message that that makes you unique, that you want other people to know about, so that they come to you and they keep looking at you from this point forward, or from that event forward. And that opens up a lot of doors, I think. And we can definitely help identify the whether it's social media, blogs. We could help organize a learning webinar if it was very structured. We can do those sorts of things to help assist you. But give me the pitch, I guess.
You think we can get trustee or board member, past trustee or board members like Handwash has done, that have the Rotary connections that we don't?
Oh yeah, I think that's something we could easily do. Yeah, we can recruit somebody to be a champion for you, but we need you to pull together the pitch.
Okay. I think we can easily justify 4 or 5 areas of focus that we have had impact on. Hey, I don't need to be on that, but anyway, 4 or 5 of the areas of focus that we have impacted over time and will continue to. So we have a champion of one of those here in our room. Peace and conflict resolution is one that I think, plus community development and obviously the health issue that Gilliard has pointed out. So there's lots of things that we can champion here.
And it's taken a while for the Rotarians in Same to learn how to be a convener, how to get the DED, the DC, the ROSA agency, the health department, how to get them to talk to each other. I went there and we're going to have a signing ceremony, but the DED said, no, I won't do a signing ceremony until you have your meeting with the department heads. So we all got together and I put up on the board some stages, and they put little sticky notes saying what their pieces were. I've got a picture of that. And the interesting thing was, at the break, they were exchanging phone numbers because they'd never talked to each other before. Being a convener that helps build a collaboration is definitely something this group has done.
Huge. And again, we're always talking about collective action. And that's really one of the powers of Rotary. I'm not going to feed that into every project that comes across my way. But I think this is definitely exactly what you just described, Stu, is something that we assume all Rotarians can do. But the reality is, you have to get comfortable with it, and you have to, we have relationships and whatnot, but utilizing those relationships in the context of the project and the goals we're trying to achieve, that's very different, right? So I would love to hear more of that story. I would have a cup of coffee or tea and sit down with you all at a different moment to be able to even just tear that story apart. I would love to hear that. So think about this, because 2022 is around the corner, and I would love to get something, maybe a goal that you would like to achieve, whether that is a webinar, whether that is an in-person learning event, whether that maybe is a breakout session at the next UNC or WEDIC conference next year, whatever that might be. Figure out what's the best avenue for you, and then I would love to help support in any way that I can. Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, we're in. Keep us in contact. We can make something come together.
We'll put our heads together.
Good thing this is recorded, because the only folks I didn't hear from was the Tanzania side, so hopefully you're in as well.
What do you think, Zawadi and Kajiru? What do you think?
Yeah, let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, you're muted, so unmute, please.
Thank you, Erica, for your comments, and we welcome your ideas, and we with our partners will make sure we have a forum where we can talk, where we can share the ideas on what we are doing, so that the other guys in other parts of the world can know
Oh, yes, yes. You know, your brothers and sisters up in Uganda, I was talking with them this morning, and I actually brought up this this project. And I said, are you aware of the developing program of scale that's going on right now in Same? And many of them are aware, but, and I said, are you talking to each other at all? And it was quiet, nothing. And I'm like, this is your neighbors. These are your fellow Rotarians. What an opportunity. You guys are doing one of the top 5 largest programs that I know of right now going globally in the world. You each represent 2 of the 5. I mean, why are we not talking to each other?
Well, and this is something that you could facilitate. Get the best of Rotary together in the same room and figure out how to share.
Well, that's what's cooking in my mind.
Yeah.
So I hope this has excited you, because this is exciting for me. I see your expertise and your experience is beautiful, and I want to bring it out so that we have more of this going on, right? So so anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. I have it already in my little book. I would love to see something decided upon by the end of January of what our plan of action could be with that, if that's possible. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Erica. Any other questions from the audience before I mute myself?
Any more chats?
There's some nice chats you might want to read, Stu. I don't think there's really a question in there, but a lot of nice comments.
Yeah, there are indeed. Thanks.
So we will move along then. Oh, it's me. Share, let's see, go. Okay. Where is that?
Down at the bottom, you should see share.
There it is.
That's mine. You have to get out of that.
How do we get out of that?
Stop share at the top. There you go. Now go back down to PowerPoint.
Right here, or the PowerPoint?
You want to share your screen.
There, it's this one.
There you go. I don't think you're sharing yet, though.
No, I'm not sharing. It comes back to you. Stop share.
Okay, go back to close mine. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'm still not sharing. Share screen. There it is. That's where we left off with my shared screen. The next one here is to talk about some new terms and conditions for the matching programs. This information is taken from the Terms and Conditions Rotary Foundation handout or text, our book. And some of the things that are new about global grants that everybody needs to be aware of when it comes to the fundraising side of this is global grant minimum budget of 30,000, a maximum World Fund award of 400,000. So that alone statement says, doesn't matter how big your project is, they're only going to go match up to $400,000. The World Fund will match district designated funds 80%. When these rules first came out in 2020, that was 100%, but it has dropped to 80% in March of 2021. No minimum World Fund match. Well, when you put a minimum budget of 30,000, it kind of says it's going to have to be pretty small to be a minimum. And then at the district level, and I'm using district 6,000 values here. This could change from district to district. In our district here, 6,000, the match rate is now 100% of the club contribution with a maximum of $25,000. So there's a small example from what it looks like in our district. If a club can come up with the $25,000 for the maximum, The district will match that dollar for dollar, so that's another 25,000. And the foundation world match fund will be 80% of that 25,000 of the district designated funds for $20,000. And those add up to $70,000. But you still can put in a lot of non-Rotary money. And if you remember, a lot of our non-Rotary money for us has been the Hy-Vee Water Fund. And there's been individuals that have put money in. And you can still use a lot of Rotary Club money in your district. It just won't be matched.
Is there somebody wanting to up there at the top?
Oh, Chris is here. Thank you. It's Chris Burr.
I just saw it pop up.
Yeah. So that's where the grant is, our fundraising is going to have to really take a serious look at the matching side of it and how that works. And if you ever attempt to get close to that 400,000, you're going to have to get a lot of districts involved and a lot of clubs involved. So it's not impossible, but it's going to take a lot of work. So that kind of means too that it might be easier to go out to others, like Dave mentioned, foundations and other people of interest that have interest in this sort of a project and raise money as hard and fast as we can. So there's that one. The next one, while we're kind of between water projects, we were working on this one here, the Chickatini dairy milk processing. This has been a project that's been started locally in the village of Chickatini, which is, we're partnering with the Rotary Club of Mwanga on this one. It's a food security and creating income. It's an economic development project. The plan is to raise income, increase milk production. That's in progress. We have demonstrated things there as such as pasteurizing and some other local processing. We're working on creating milk markets there, and that shouldn't be too hard. They are selling yogurt locally, which they make right there in the village. Sell excess production to outside markets and raise local farmer income. And in this case, 80% of the farmers that are with the milk cows are women. So you can see right there, automatically becomes a women's project. The potential markets are not only to the local villagers, but there's local secondary and primary schools close by. And the last time I was there, I counted at least 5 within walking distance. Nearby towns, hotels and motels. And what they really want to do is get to the point where they're further processing, making more products than just milk and cultured milk, or pasteurized milk and cultured milk. This was a community meeting, a training session that was done in 2014 or 15, I believe. The Land O'Lakes was doing this one. They were talking about all sorts of cattle management, milk handling, and the milk markets in general. Land O'Lakes has been a good partner for this in Tanzania. They're very helpful on the training side and helping set up what needs to be in a dairy processing plant, and they know the government regulations. That's been very helpful for getting the layout and the place put together. This is one of the Land O'Lakes representatives. If you can read the Swahili, you can see what he's talking about. So I'm out of luck trying to help translate that one. In 2017, a business plan was developed. It's a 10-page document by Dr. I.E. Mwanga. He is actually a local person from the village of Chickatini. It's a wonderful document, and happy to share it with people. It includes a lot of things, and I've taken a lot of the charts out, like where it's in Tanzania shillings and put it in US dollars, so it's a little easier for us to understand the scope of what he's talking about. Then we do have some equipment there that was help chosen by Brian Boer, a consultant out of Minnesota who was there. And they found some equipment down in Cape Town, South Africa. They have a pasteurization unit, a small pasture that will actually pasteurize in small sackets. So you don't have to do much more than screen the milk, put it in the sackets, and it goes right into a pasteurizer. And from there, it's shelf stable for up to 2 weeks without refrigeration. So it's a wonderful little product for a place like this. Then they have a micro batch pasteurizing system all in one unit that does pasteurizing makes yogurt, cheese, butter, and separates cream. Last I heard, it's not online yet because they don't have their license to operate yet. This is kind of a rough budget of what we're working with for now. We're trying to raise $100,000. And at this point, you can see what our needs are. We've raised with a match calculated to be somewhere around $75,000 of that. So we'd like to get this one up and going as soon as we can too. And here's what they still need. The cold room, receiving, cooling tank, some packaging equipment, all the lab equipment, all the office equipment, and a backup generator, kind of one of the biggies because the power in that part of the world is a little unreliable, to say the least. And they are in the process of registering the business now. And in fact, it should be done by now. I just haven't heard. And there's where that's at. So what do I want to do? Close it, stop here. There you go. And we're back to the meeting. And with that, is there any more questions that I must have on chat or in live? Say hi to Chris Bertelson. Thanks for showing up. Anybody questions? Before we leave, I would like to say that in the room with me today has been Dave Fox. You've heard him. Steve Jones, Mary Wells, Dick Ross, Gerald Conlon, and David Hanson, all on our committee. There's a few others on our committee that are already on the Zoom meeting. So does anybody else have any comments here?
Glenn, if I could, I have two things.
Sure.
One, do you have a budget for those future needs for the milk processing? And two, I want to give a shout out to Gerald, who I haven't seen in, well, a while. We had a great time in Same 9 years ago.
There he is. He's in the back. Wave at him. Yeah, we have a budget for it. Like I said, but it's a little more complicated than what the needs cost that I put up there. But yeah.
Yeah.
And it also, part of the business plan has a pretty good budget in it too.
Good.
I didn't mention that the doctor that put that budget plan together, or the business plan, is actually working in the government in the food regulatory side. So he was quite knowledgeable of what he was doing when he put that business plan together. It wasn't just a hit and miss. It was really a good document.
Erica, one of the tidbits that makes this group grow well is the interlocking nature. There are Rotarians working directly with ETI and serving on their board. I'm working with their ops team. The long time relating, getting people aligned, and trusting each other is really valuable.
You might mention your association.
Dave wants me to tell you about my association with ETI, and I can't do that without bringing Gerald in on it. Gerald Conlon and I are two of the founders of Empower Tanzania, so we kind of know a little bit about it. And another thing I wanted to mention is there's two people on the screen here, Mark Kramer and Dave Millard. They're going over to Tanzania in a couple of weeks to start the training process for this next water system that's going to go online before too long. And they don't know it yet, but they're carrying a lot of stuff for ETI too. The stuff's supposed to start arriving at my house later today. So I hope we can find room for most of it, if not all of it.
And Erica, we've already had the conversation about local sourcing, and Dave has found local sources for the future.
I have actually another question. It was some time ago, I believe, that you had sponsored the district water officer for, I think it was UNESCO IHE, right? What was the outcome of that?
Well, that was
Mr. Musso. We got the grant for that under the IHE Rotary program. It was great. He went and got his training, and then soon after that was transferred away.
Oh, no.
He's now in the
better job.
area.
Yeah. he got a
Okay.
better job, and we still have a pretty darn good engineer there.
Okay.
He
So
did
that was my next question is if you were to assess the capacity, is there any need to build more capacity?
there is,
Mhm.
Always,
in all of the departments.
yes, always.
Also in each of the departments. We have to do some gathering of data and sensing of that and build it into this project.
I will say I was a consulting engineer for 45 years, and the last data and design information the local engineers came up with is something, frankly, I would have had trouble doing. So I am very confident in their skill levels. So they did a good job, very detailed, and I'm thinking it
You
all
second
worked.
that?
Yeah. Yeah, on the water supply and treatment side, they're great. On the other stuff, not
Not
so
so
good.
much. Now, Steve and I designed the first two systems, and then we got convinced those local folks that what we were doing actually worked, and found out their skill level, and it made the transition. So capacity building has been a significant progress in the whole operation. So,
Well, tell them the news about
happy.
the system adoption for the district.
oh, yes. Yeah, we found out recently that especially in the Mahezi project with the filtration system for the surface water supply and the chlorination systems, that RUASA has decided to adopt those as their standard procedure
Oh
and
my gosh, yeah.
for future projects. So apparently something's going right.
I miss your sarcasm, Dave.
This is Steve. I might just make the comment that this next project is going to be a much larger system, both from an average daily flow standpoint and the fact that we have a single source supplying 3 separate villages. My personal feeling is that if we go forward with these larger systems, we need to make sure that the treatment required may change a little bit. And we need to make sure as we go forward that we use appropriate technology that is reliable, but also keep it simple enough that it can be operated and maintained by the local villagers. So reliability is going to be important.
Yep. One of the things we have found out recently, Stu mentioned about local supply, is we finally got access to the local distributor for a lot of water and sanitation equipment, and looked in their catalog and found pretty much everything that we have been supplying and didn't know they had was available in the catalog, including supply of hot chemical chlorination test kits and reagents that are made right here in Ames, Iowa, that they handle. So
no way. No way.
And this supplier has offices all over Central Africa, so this is not like something we can't do elsewhere. Their main office actually is in Nairobi. So
yeah. For your larger systems, is that a community managed, or is there a private operator, or is the district engineer in charge of that, or what's
that?
I think
community water committee.
I think, Erica, your question was how this next larger system is going to be operated.
Yeah.
And I think there was some verbiage in the memorandum with RUASA. RUASA, I think, at least in the current agreement, is going to be taking a larger role in the day-to-day management and operation. But I would just hesitate to say here that you're still going to need local operators from the local villages that have their feet on the ground day in and day out, taking care of things. So, that part of it has yet to be flushed out, I think.
That's right.
maybe our friends in Tanzania know more about what RUWASA's role will be with the local water systems. We're still hearing about this, so
And they have,
things are evolving as we speak.
it's evolving. They don't know yet for sure.
Yeah, it's the first time they've done a multi-village project like this. So
Hello?
Sure.
Hello?
Hello.
yes,
Yeah, in Tanzania currently, RWASA is forming local-based organizations which will be running village or community-based water projects or community-based health organizations. So at Mhezi 1 and Mhezi 2, there is already a community-based organization which will be under RWASA, but it will have its own management.
right.
But it will be supervised by RWASA. And when we are going to the other coming project, it will be the same. So the whole district has been the community, about 14 community-based organizations, which will be running village or community-based water projects.
Mhm.
Yeah, to add to that, the manager of RUWASA, Alphonse, has said that it's their job to organize and manage those community-based water organizations, but they have not done a 3-village version. So in the 3-village version, there's going to be an interesting mix of responsibilities.
Really interesting. Yeah. And it's paid, and those community managed committees, are they responsible for tracking pay for service, et cetera?
The whole bit.
They have tracking for fees collection,
Mhm.
maintenance, and the like.
Mhm.
Stu said they have already formed a community-based organization from Mhezi, but from Mhezi, it already includes 5 villages.
Okay.
Not only the 4 villages of Mhezi and Teke, there is Mwembe and Dagaseta. So this community-based organization will be of 5 villages. And in Vude, there will be 6 villages.
Mhm. Wow.
These are sub-villages, and Bude is one of the 3 bigger villages.
Mm.
Yeah, so it may be a multi-level management system. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Another learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make the comment. The question was raised, what are the lessons that we have that might be helpful for others? And I think one that was not emphasized enough is the initial contacts. If you got a club that doesn't have international experience, doesn't have a way to provide some leadership, it's really hard to get started. We wouldn't have gotten started if it wasn't for Gerald Conlon, Lutheran out relationships with Tanzania that opened the door for us, as well as the other ones. That's really important. Yeah. And we've emphasized how important the partners are to this. This wouldn't be possible without the partners, but it goes the other direction too. If you have a club that's only looking at local kinds of activities, I think you're cheating your members. They're not being able to plug into what Rotary really offers. And that's not an easy step. If they become partners, you start to sensitize, expand your members' visions, and that's really important to your clubs, and I think should be a selling point for us. Finally, I'd say we're in competition with all kinds of other agencies doing community work. Governments, nonprofits, other countries. What does Rotary have that makes us better from them and all the money and technology that they have? What makes us special, to me, is the club-to-club relationships, the person-to-person relationships, the confidence and the friendships you build that only Rotary provides.
Well said.
Well said.
Thank you. Yeah.
And our group here in Ames pretty much lives by that. We've experienced a lot of that. And you can see the scaling up process is alive and well and trying to work our way up through this. So any more comments or questions?
Just one that Eric has heard before, and that is to bring all of our collective partners. We really need that 2 or 3 club recognition, not just 1+1. So maybe need to revisit that with Meredith.
Yes, yes.
And nothing, no questions in the chat, but more good comments. Ruwasa, oh, okay. Rural and Urban Water Supply and Sanitation Authority.
Yeah. What those letters stand for.
Any more questions? Otherwise,
Let us know if you want to.
anybody wants any part of this, and any as far as the videos, let us know. And I'll make that offer again for Gilliard's individual, that impacts talk that he does with that little presentation. Send that out. We'll send you the link because it's actually on our YouTube channel right now. So it's out there and we can go from there. So anybody want to see it? Great. We'll happy to send that to you. Anybody else?
Great meeting. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, everybody. Any questions? Don't be afraid to contact us.
Send us all your people that you know that have a lot of money.
We expect a lot of lists. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening in Sami.
Yes.
Good morning in your part.
Yes.
Whiskey time now.
Hey, maybe where you're at. Yeah, it's not even noon here. Give us a chance.
You can have whiskey at noon. It's allowed.
I needed to hear a word from our grandpa, David Millard. Just a word.
Yes.
You wanna? Yeah.
Grandpa, David Millard. Just a word.
Yeah. Everybody's here.
We are missing his slang very much.
Okay, we'll close it out. Greetings to everyone in Same. Sleep tight.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.